Hey, fellow YouTubers, JJ the Trucker coming to you from Wisconsin. Hey, I want to address a comment that I received pretty recently. Sorry for all the bumping. They're unloading me, or they're loading me up right now. So I want to address not just a comment, but it's a number of comments that I get, all same topic, all the same thing. So I'm just going to make this generic video for all of those, so I can just post the link instead of having to reply to all of them. So here's what the comment was. First of all, this comment was posted on my video about how to drain your air tanks on a Freightliner. Had nothing to do with Prime at all. That video had nothing to do with Prime, but that's usually where these guys, these worms come out. Here's what the comment said. It posted a link, a YouTube link, and it says, "This happens all too often at Prime." I'm like, all right, I already know what this is about. I get enough of these types of videos, and it's basically somebody who failed at Prime. A husband and wife team failed at Prime. Now, it's not the first time I've seen one of these videos, not the first time I've seen one of these comments, but I actually saw a lot of these videos when I was doing my research on which company to drive for. It's not like I just, woke up one day, saw a Prime truck passing by, or on my way to work or something. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go drive for Prime, and boom, there I go. No, I did a lot of research. I researched a number of companies, to work for. Did a lot of research, did a lot of, searching YouTube videos and stuff like that. So I do see all the fails and stuff like that. Failed at Prime, failed at CRST, failed at Expo, failed at Swift, failed at Knight, failed at CR England, failed at this. It's happening happens all the time. And they've all got some very common themes. So I want to talk about this one, because this one in particular was certainly not a good example for any troll to bring up. That's for sure. But it is still one of the very more common ones. So the video starts off, hey, we're back here home in Vegas. We're unloading our truck, and they're in their driveway unloading the truck, putting all their stuff in the garage, and they're talking about, Prime failed us and blah blah blah, because Prime's not paying enough, and their overhead is way too high, and they've got to figure it out, and they got to get this fixed, and blah blah blah. And they're basically talking about saying, hey, they got bills to pay, and he's got child support that he needs to pay and everything, and they're just barely living paycheck to paycheck. And then their tax bill comes to, and Prime sends us our tax bill, and it's like, we've been living paycheck to paycheck, paying our bills and paying child support. And I can't afford this. We can't afford this. We can't afford to pay our taxes. And then they mention how much their first tax bill was, and then how much their second tax bill was. First being $4,000, second being $6,000. And we'll go and get into that in a minute. And then they pan around, as they're talking about it, they're panning around, they're showing their house, they're showing their neighborhood. I'm from Vegas, so I'm familiar with where they're at. They're on a cul-de-sac in a brand new neighborhood, brand new house, big house. This house had to be at least a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, at least, okay, if not larger. Their mortgage payment is probably about $2,500 to $3,000 a month for their house. And then they're panning off into their driveway, not just seeing it in the background, but they're actually saying, hey, there's our babies, or our loves, or whatever they called them, bragging about not only their BMW, but their second BMW. So they got 2 BMWs, a brand new house, big house, and child support. So let's talk about all this. One, first and foremost, taxes. 4,000 and 6,000 means they're making some good money. Okay, they are making some pretty good money out there if their estimated tax payments are that high. Second, it's not a tax bill. It doesn't come from Prime. Prime doesn't send you a tax bill. Okay, they don't. Your estimated tax payments are sent to you from your CPA. And taxes are due. Taxes are due quarterly. They tell you that up front. They make sure you know it. Prime tells you about it all the time. And if they went through Abacus CPA, which they probably did, they pre-warn you all the time, saying, hey, don't forget to save up for your taxes. We recommend you put aside 30% every single check. And so there's the number one thing right there. If you cannot be disciplined enough to every single time you get a paycheck to put 30%, or in Vegas, since there's no state income tax, 25%, if you can't put 25% away in a separate account to not touch that and treat that as your first bill foremost, that has got to be your number one bill, the first bill you pay, then you're not doing it right. Okay, if you can't handle that, then you should not have your own business. You should not be leasing. You should be a company driver. And there's nothing wrong with being a company driver, and there's nothing wrong if that's the case. Okay, I know plenty of people, really good people, that cannot manage their own money like that. And I would recommend to them, hey, no problem, be a company driver. Save up your money and and have a good time that way. You're still going to make good money even as a company driver. You're just going to make better money if you know how to manage your money and you can be a lease operator. But as a company driver, it's not that you don't have taxes due. It's just your employer, in this case Prime, is going to pull that money out first for you and put it into a savings account. It's the savings account with the IRS instead of your own savings account. And you don't earn interest on that. So it's the same thing, but you've got to put your taxes aside first. That's your first bill. Before anything else, that has got to be your first bill. Okay? Clearly they didn't do that. They were spending their money, paying their bills, for their Beamers and their house and their child support and everything else. And they were not putting aside money for taxes, clearly. Okay? Second of all, that was their second tax bill. So they didn't learn the first time when it was $4,000, excuse me, that you need to put this money aside and be ready for it. And so when the second one hit, which was $6,000, that tells me they made even more money in the second quarter. Okay, they were doing this for at least 6 months. Okay, they made even more money the second time around, the second quarter, and they still didn't put any money aside apparently for their taxes, and they were still struggling paycheck to paycheck. Okay, which brings me to my next point. If you've got that kind of a lifestyle, then getting into trucking brand new is not going to be for you unless you've got a lot of money aside in a nest egg. Excuse me. Allergies, not COVID. It's not COVID. It's allergies, I promise. Unless you've got a lot of money saved up in a nest egg to where you can get through the first few years, you're going to make some good money, but you're not going to make brand new house, 2 BMWs, and child support and everything else that they probably have. You're not going to be making that much money. You're going to make good money, but not that kind of money. Now, eventually you will. Okay, if you play your cards right, you get through those first few years, things will build up. Eventually you will have your own truck that's in your name, or the payments are lower, or possibly even no payments at all, and you'll have your savings built up, and you'll have your retirement plan up and running and going. You'll have your budget set, and you'll be making a lot more money later on, because you'll be owning them load boards, and again, with no truck payment or a much lower truck payment, you're going to be making more money. You're going to have more free money to spend. And yes, at that point, buy your big house, buy your Beamers, your Harleys, and all that stuff. Get whatever you want, because you're going to be making that money eventually, but not right off the bat. Right now, I'm making really good money, okay, but I'm not making enough money for that. Okay, let's face it. So they came into it expecting to be making a lot more than what is really possible, and they're sitting there blaming Prime. That's not right. You know, that's like going to any company. You go to any company, and you don't make enough to pay your exorbitant bills, you know, because you're not, you know, you're not making $200K a year, you know, $300K a year, and then blaming the company because your bills are too high and you can't save up for your taxes. So if you want to fail at Prime or Knight or CR England or Swift or any trucking company at all doing a lease, that's how you do it. Come in with really, really high bills, and don't save money for taxes. Plain and simple. Okay? But don't sit there and blame the company that you're working for, the company that is paying you for the work that you're doing, and paying you a really good amount for the work that you're doing, because you can't manage your money. That's just not right. So, anyways, all right, I'll stop ranting about that. If you have any questions or comments, now obviously there are some really bad luck things that I have seen out there, videos where, you know, luck just didn't go their way. Things happen. Of course, only hearing one side of the story, but a lot of them, you know, I tend to believe that does happen. You know, stuff happens, life happens. I know one person I spoke to, they were out there and they broke their foot, their gas pedal foot. Ouch. Ouch. They were out of work. They couldn't drive. If you can't drive, what are you going to do? You know, so that's a hard luck story. They had insurance. They did what they needed to do. The good news for this particular driver, he was out 7 months, by the way. 7 months. He got by. He was okay. He, you know, he struggled. You know, he did have a nest egg. He blew through, you know, he had to blow through his nest egg, but he, you know, he went living on the cheap for a while, and then got right back into driving once his foot healed, and became a success story. But yeah, something like that can definitely put a driver out. You know, but again, no fault of the company, unless it was the company's negligence that caused him to break his foot. But accidents do happen. You got to be prepared for that. I've got an insurance through Trustmark that if something like that happens, they'll pay out. So that's good. But yeah, there are some legit stories, but I have not seen a legit story against Prime or any of the other companies similar to Prime and Prime's class that were legitimately Prime or those companies' faults. It's always, if you really look into it, it's because the owner-operator, lease operator, didn't do their research, didn't have a nest egg, don't know how to manage their money. Their expectations were wrong. So do your research. You're going to make good money coming to Prime or any of these companies similar to Prime, but you do have to manage your money. I mean, once again, I'll say it again, put your taxes aside first. That is your number one bill. Number one, I've got a separate savings account, and every single week that I get paid, 25% of whatever my net income is goes straight into that savings account, no matter what. And then I get my estimated tax payments quarterly. I pay those taxes, but I still, and my taxes so far have not been as much as the amount I've saved. That's okay. I'm still saving. That's staying in that savings, and when my taxes are completely done at the end of the year, then whatever I've got left over, that's a bonus. That's my tax refund. That's how it works, and that's how you need to be doing it. If you're not doing it that way, prepare to fail. Plain and simple. Prepare to fail if you are not putting your taxes aside. Thank you, everybody. JJ out.